Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to never miss a video from us.
Hello everyone. Today we have with us Ms. Gitanjali Sriram, a seasoned professional with over 3 decades of rigorous experience in managing companies and brands locally, regionally and globally across multiple countries, industries and cultures. She has expertise in brand communications across various disciplines including marketing, integrated communications planning, advertising, social, digital, activation, design, retail and shopper marketing and loyalty and CRM. Ms. Gitanjali began her journey as a marketing specialist in Paramount Group and has moved up the ladder working in senior capacities at Fielo, Publicis Group, Titan Industries, Nestle, Salesforce, and is presently working as head of marketing and communications at Taco Bell, Malaysia. We welcome you, ma'am, to this expert interview series and hope to learn from your experiences.
Great. Thank you very much for having me. And I'm happy to take on whatever your requests and questions are. So let's get started. I think the most important thing that you would want to aim for every single day is a level of unpredictability. Because if something is predictable, then you're probably not learning very much. To me, the life of a marketer is always one of continued challenges. The idea of having agility is a very important part of what you bring to the table. Being able to collate all the experiences you've had across multiple different other experiences, and then bringing that to the table to keep making better and better informed decisions. So to me, the most important thing that any marketer needs to be prepared for is a certain level of chaos. And chaos is good because chaos means you're learning, you're growing. It means that you're keeping track of your consumer who is changing daily. But of course, it needs to be managed chaos. It can't be such that it overwhelms you. For marketing people, if you are in a set routine, then you are not doing enough to challenge yourself. And even at my age, and after all these years, I feel happiest when I'm learning something new. Sure. There's obviously there are two directions that any strategy takes. One is a top-down direction. So there is a larger business goal and a business challenge that is presented. Usually, that's a very numbers-related the business goal is very numbers related. So it will be based on your revenue, what you need to do for the business. It may have to do with perhaps you have a business where you may have taken a bank loan, and therefore there is a certain expectation on, say, if you're in a franchise model, if you have to open a certain number of outlets for that year. So you have a very top-down requirement. You also have a bottom-up requirement. So you may be a SME. You could be a small to medium-sized business where you've been a startup or you are sort of at your mid-journey where you're growing the market. So you have to do certain things or you have certain expectations that are related to what is the market situation like, what is the understanding of your consumer, how much are they able to absorb, right? So there is a bottom-up approach as well to understand what is your market, and given your market, understanding what is the capacity for your consumer to really buy your goods and services, right? The idea of starting with the marketing plan or the marketing strategy is not to look at one or the other. You actually have to look at both. And the idea of the strategic planning is to find a good compromise between your top-down approach and your bottom-up approach.
Okay.
So in a bottom-up approach, I would be seeking everything from market research data, this could be secondary or primary, to aggregator data, which means things like YouGov or other such platforms that give me things like buzz, awareness, to just get a sense of who is this consumer we are after.
Okay.
There might be also the media agency that you're working with could give you good insights on as to who the consumers are that seem to be connecting. If you've done any performance marketing campaigns in the past, or if you've done any CRM campaigns, even emailing campaigns, you have some data that has come in from there to understand what your consumers might want. And then there are multiple tools in the market. We use something called gap maps. That's to do more location analysis. We also use a local company that helps us do location and consumer behavior profiling. So look for those kinds of companies. Sometimes these companies are actually attached to secondary services from mobile companies. So a mobile provider actually has the richest source of consumer knowledge, right?
Okay.
They're able to track where consumers are moving, where they are in the daytime, where they are at night, their affluence levels. Are they gamers? Are they shoppers? Are they video watchers? They have an incredible depth of understanding. Reach out to these guys. They will be in a B2B sort of team within sort of these big
Okay.
mobile companies, but they have this wealth of knowledge. You will not know the exact consumer, but you'll have an understanding of your consumer. So as you're building your strategy, first make sure you understand the consumer, and that way you build from a base of what I refer to as being customer obsessed. If you
Okay.
are customer obsessed, then your strategy will be based on their needs. Um, which means as you're starting to build a strategy, do you really need to do a promotion, for instance? And this is, of
Okay.
course, always controversial, and it's always something that I like to do. Do you really need to do a big promotion on Deepavali if you're a small provider and you
Okay.
don't have the money to fight the big guys, right? Because you may do a promotion, but does it give you the necessary sales lift you need? Because you need at least a bare minimum to be able to spend in order to get the sales lift you need to make a decent ROI on your investment, right?
Makes sense.
On the other hand, how about if my product is a drink product and I just focus on school holidays? In June or July, when it's the hottest season of the year, and I know kids are going to be off during that time, and drinks are going to be big, and there is nothing else happening in June or July. Will my money be better spent there? So, based on my level of consumer obsession, I would make an assessment of what does my promotional calendar look like. When am I going to be in market? When am I not going to be in market? That is related to campaigns and promotions. But you don't want to be running campaigns and promotions all year round, because that defeats the purpose of running a campaign, right?
Makes sense.
What you want, however, is to have always on presence. And in today's day and age, that always on presence is currently on social media. So if your consumer is a slightly older consumer, then you will probably be mostly on Facebook. But if your consumer is a millennial, you'll probably be on Instagram. If your consumer is mostly Gen Z, you will probably be on TikTok. So depending or whatever other form of video content there is in your country. So depending on your consumer base, your always on content calendar first needs to go in place. And that is going to be something you commit yourself to for the year. Right? That is a commitment that or a relationship commitment you have with your consumer. So then I can start putting those tactical pieces into my calendar to bring my sort of projected numbers up to the level of the management.
Right.
And that's how I build out my strategy, is to look at bottom up, focus on consumer, look at top down, focus on business, and then find a way to make the two match. Yeah. So you must have your standard KPIs which are related to sales. So the standard KPI, usually if it is a medium size promotion, you would see a lift of about 5 to 8%.
Okay.
That is only when you're doing a relatively small promotion, not anything huge, but just to create some excitement in the market. If you're looking at a larger scale promotion, which is really tied into a campaign,
Yeah.
say you're doing a Deepavali campaign or you're doing, I don't know, a wedding season campaign, then you should generally aim for a lift of around 10 to 15%, depending
Okay.
on how big the offer is. So your KPI is really tied into what is the level of your offer.
Okay.
You really need to understand that, small, medium, large. So that's one KPI, which is always very important. What is the bottom line? The second piece is really to track buzz. You must have some tool to track buzz,
Okay.
because otherwise your campaign will again lead to a transactional relationship. When you track buzz, buzz allows you to see a longer term effect of your campaign. So your campaign may only be running for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, which is always the suggested length of a campaign. Don't run shorter campaigns than that,
Okay.
because it kind of doesn't give consumers enough time to respond. But if you run a campaign longer than 6 weeks, it becomes boring.
Okay.
Consumers lose interest. So somewhere around 3 to 6 weeks is that sort of period, the time period that you want to inhabit.
Makes sense.
However, if your campaign works, you will actually see a change in buzz, which will reflect over a 2 to 3 month period.
Okay.
So that lift in awareness, buzz, brand recognition should last a longer period of time. And therefore, my criteria that I always use is, when I'm doing a campaign, I need to land somewhere around a 30% to a 50% awareness level. So that buzz tracking is very important. I also look for how is the ranking of the brand changing. So when I get a lift, if I move up one place or 2 places, that's a good movement. So make sure that you are able to track that. Performance marketing media buys allow you to do that. Work with a performance marketing company to be able to set up that journey for you, to be able to report the ROI. Because being able to track that gives you a very specific, like, how much did it cost me to get that sale? If you want to get really sophisticated, you can go into A/B testing, which means you have one offer in one area and another offer in another area. Run that for 2 weeks, see which one works better, and then move all the offers to the more successful one.
Right.
That is a higher level of sophistication and requires a very high level of agility, but you
Okay.
can get there.
Right. Right.
But take it one step at a time. Start small, start with just maybe one offer, checking it, refining it. And then as you get more and more experienced in how to work with performance marketing, then you can get more sophisticated in how to use it better. Our biggest challenge as marketers is that, and this is not to say that, it's not happening, but I think one of our biggest challenges is that marketing tends to be very digitally driven.
Right.
And a lot of us in marketing have really been upskilling constantly. For instance, I use ChatGPT,
Okay.
and I use it on a number of functions that I do in marketing. Everything from creating, Excel sheets for me, to developing graphs and charts, to writing copy, to translations. So I'm very active on it. I think some of the other functions are not progressing digitally as quickly as marketing.
Okay.
And so sometimes you actually have to take a step back
Okay.
to take everyone with you. So sometimes it becomes frustrating to do that. Sometimes you have to explain to them what is CRM and how does CRM work and why is
Okay.
CRM different than email marketing,
Then
right?
yeah.
So a lot of times, that is my biggest challenge, really, is explaining some of the sophistication that has happened in marketing,
Okay.
which has actually happened at a very rapid pace
Mm.
because the work that we do is so consumer facing that we have to keep pace with our consumer. So, and as a result of them not understanding you, they may not realize how important marketing is, right? They cut marketing, sales drops. By the time they figure it out, it's 2 or 3 months out. You restart the marketing, and it takes a good 3 months to get back in the game. So you've then lost about 6 months of sales, right? So in order for everyone to understand the importance of marketing, you have to patiently explain what you
Yes.
sometimes you may find tedious.
Mm.
But it is very important
Makes
because
sense.
they need to understand the impact that
Yeah.
you are having on the bottom line. If you were to ask me for the 3 main skills that I have, that have made me perhaps a good marketer, one is a serious sense of empathy
Okay.
with consumers. If you do not empathize with your consumer, if you continue to imagine us versus them,
Right.
it's like, okay, this is me, the brand, and that is them, the consumer. You use a language like target as if you're going to shoot them down,
Yeah. Yeah.
and other terminology which really comes from like warfare.
Yes. Yes.
That is very old-fashioned marketing approach.
Makes sense.
The approach that one must have is one of empathy. I know what they're going through. I know how they're feeling. I want to help make things better for them. I want
Correct.
to fulfill a need. That must be the approach. And therefore, it, it feels like a fair exchange
Okay.
between the consumer and the brand. I give you something uh, to help you make your life better, and in return for that, you pay me a fair price. That kind of an exchange and that kind of a relationship is really what creates longevity for any brand. So having a strong sense of empathy is super critical. The second
Okay.
piece is you must always leave your ego at the door.
Okay.
You cannot bring ego into any conversation because then you may miss the opportunity to learn. If you feel that you know everything about something, then the idea of somebody else having a better thought or a way to improve things, you may miss that opportunity to bring that on board. So if you are looking at, okay, I'm the boss,
Yeah.
and therefore I make the final call, the problem with that is that you might just be undermining your own success. And so I think coming to work without an ego is very important.
Okay.
And the third one is really to understand the entirety of the business, not just marketing.
Okay.
Be interested in understanding the full impact of the business that you're in. Understand supply chain, even though it's super boring. Understand how finance is working. Understand the systems that are deployed in IT to make things happen.
Correct.
Ask, be curious, ask questions, be infinitely sort of questioning, how does this work? How does that happen? Why is that working the way it is working? Is it possible to do it like this? Don't be afraid of being curious,
Okay.
because, people will then engage, and that makes a big difference. The most important thing I would have every single one of your people do is find a good mentor. It's got to be somebody you look up to, and it doesn't have to be somebody in marketing. It could be anyone in the organization. It could be the HR person. It could be maybe somebody in another function, somebody you get along with, somebody you may have met, maybe getting a cup of coffee in the cafeteria, and you bump into them, and you just have a casual conversation. Seek them out.
Okay.
Present your case to them. Ask them if they will mentor you. It's very rare that somebody will say no. Make sure that you have that mentorship, because that mentor will help guide you in the environment that you're in, because every environment will be different. There's one which I've always lived by, which is that you have the power to make your dreams come true.
Okay.
You have to work for it, however.
Okay. That's
So there is
beautiful.
no such thing as a free lunch. You
Yes,
absolutely
yes.
have the power. Each of us have the power, but you have to work for it.
Makes sense.
So that's important. But lately, I have been watching this amazing show that I would recommend if you can get, a way to access this show. It's called Ted Lasso.
Okay.
It's an American show. I'm seeing it on Apple Plus, um, and it's got a huge number of marketing lessons
Okay.
to be learned. It's brilliant, brilliant show. And recently, I picked up my new mantra from this show, which says, "Don't fight back,
Okay.
fight forward."
Hmm.
And that really resonated with me.
Wow.
Is when things are tough and you almost feel like fighting back. You're moving against the tide. You're fighting against something. You want to make sure this happens because you believe in it, and you're fighting and fighting. Instead, find a way to fight forward.
Forward.
Create a completely different trajectory. Don't think about what happened in the past. Work it forward. How can I improve moving forward? And I think that made a huge difference in the way I viewed some of my current challenges. And I thought that was a brilliant lesson for me. So that's my new lesson.
That's amazing, ma'am. Thank you so much. And I learned personally. I learned a lot from your conversations. I am also a marketing student. I had spent some time learning marketing, and whatever you said actually resonated with whatever I had learned. And it's
Oh,
almost like getting, and you were able to show an entire picture of the visual representation of what you did, what you do in an entire day, what you have done as a head of marketing and communications, and that's something really interesting. And I hope that our viewers are also able to resonate the way I did. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for
cool.
your time. Okay, you're joining from
You're
Malaysia,
welcome.
and I'm so happy to have connected with you, ma'am. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the call. Thank you for connecting with me, Tanmay, and wishing you all the very best as well in whatever you choose to do.
Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to never miss a video from us.